I'm Nate Eaton with EastIdahoNews.com. Election Day is coming up on November 3rd, and we think it's important for all of us to be involved in our community. Behind this door are candidates running for local office, and over the next few minutes, we're going to discuss some important issues with them that may impact you and your family. We invite you to leave your comments on our Facebook page and at EastIdahoNews.com, and as always, remind you to vote on November 3rd.
Welcome to the debate for the EastIdahoNews.com. This is for the candidates for the City Council of the City of Rexburg. Tonight, our candidates are Justin Egbert, William Harding, Sally Smith, Jordan Busby, Tisha Flora, and Vince Haley. Each candidate will have 3 questions. They'll have 90 seconds in which to answer the questions, and then there will be a 60-second follow-up to be able to give a concluding statement. They drew to see who would be first, and Justin is the first one. First question is, economic development is vital to the health of any city. There are concerns that there may be too many or too few regulations to create an environment for new business and high-paying jobs. Where do you stand on city ordinances?
Thank you. I stand somewhere where it's going to work for everyone in the city. Now, that may be a vague answer, but let me tell you what I mean by that. We have to have ordinances. We need to go through each of our ordinances and determine which ones are redundant, which ones are too restrictive, which ones are antiquated. We need to find out where we can be the most beneficial for the city, for our business owners. They need to be able to make a profit, but we also need to make sure that our city has the growth and the development that it can handle over the next few years. It's obviously going to grow, so we need to have that infrastructure there that will help us to be able to carry that growth into the future. So as far as to come back to that question, it's important that we have those policies and the procedures and follow them, but it's also important that we make sure that they're up to date and that we can keep people to have a provident living. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince.
So economic growth obviously is an important and vital part of any community. Rexburg more so, I believe, than a lot of different communities because we have so many students. Those students want to get out, they want to do things, they want places to go shopping, they want places to go eat. We as community members do as well. I think city ordinances fit in that you have to set a standard for those businesses. When they are looking at a community, they need to understand the ordinances or the level of which they are going to be held to be able to build, be able to do business, and be able to keep that business running and operating to a level that is satisfactory to the community. The last thing we want is a business to come in and then just forget the ordinances and do business as they want, which then will create an environment that is not beautiful, that is not inviting to other businesses in that area. So ordinances, although restrictive at times seen by people, I believe play a vital and important role in setting the standards for what businesses will know they are getting into as they come to a community like Rexburg.
William.
I believe that city ordinances are also crucial to the development of the city. I am a little bit concerned that the city seems to be a little bit restrictive in the business that come into the city. I'm concerned that when our children grow up, they have to move away. There is no business there. There is nothing for them to have. And that concerns me as a father. I think that we all need to be on the same playing field, however, and city ordinances are something that is certainly something that has to be considered in all businesses coming into the city. But I think that one of the most important directions for the city to take at this time is to encourage investment into the city so the city can grow.
Tisha.
I also agree that we need to stimulate economic growth in Rexburg. I don't believe that our city is competitive enough in order to maintain the wonderful students that come here and also our own children. I believe that we can do much better as a community to compete for those businesses. as far as ordinances and dealing with economic growth, it's been very fun to serve on the Rexburg Planning and Zoning. And recently we have taken quite a look at a lot of our ordinances. For example, we looked at the PUD ordinance, and we unrestricted that ordinance in order to be more inviting for people to be creative in their building. And we are excited about that. We also have looked at ordinances that would help our community express better and be able to come to City Council and have their voice heard. And I am grateful for that. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve on planning and zoning, and I'm grateful for the ordinances. I do feel like there are a lot of ordinances. The book is about 2 inches thick, and I think that we could do a better job in combining some of those ordinances and making them more valid for our community.
Thank you. Sally.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. About 3 months ago, we had a business come into Rexburg that had given some expectations about what their business, their building, their development would look like. When it came down to the final approval, they had met minimum standards, not what we had been looking for. So I visited with other members of the city staff and of planning and zoning, and we realized that we do need to look at our ordinances. We need to look at barriers. We need to look at things that are strengthening development and things that are being barriers to it. We did create a task force to do this, and we've been meeting for about 3 months now. We have been looking at ordinances. Right now we have 29 zones in Rexburg. Don't ask me how in the world we ever got to 29. But there is a lot of redundancy. There are a lot of barriers, and so we have formed a task force with 2 members of City Council, 3 planning and zoning members, and 3 members of the city staff to do just what we're talking about. The discussion has been fantastic. We are looking at all zones and trying to eliminate, again, barriers and add strengths where needed and get rid of redundancy. So we're already in the process of doing that.
Thank you. Jordan.
Thank you. I believe economic development is one of those things we have to look at very carefully. But it's also one of those things that I believe the ordinances that are in place help us keep our values there that are in Rexburg. And we need to make sure we're inviting the businesses that adhere to the values that are the community upholds. I think we have an untapped resource with the college. And I agree with other statements that have been made that we want to try to make sure that we're bringing businesses into the town that our kids will come back to and support, our grandkids will come back to. Rexburg's growing, and we need to make sure that we're growing in a positive way so that it attracts businesses and businesses want to stay.
Second question, Brigham Young University-Idaho is an intricate part of the community. However, growth of the school, new apartments, and parking are difficulties that need coordination with the city. What are your views with growth and community development? Jordan.
Thank you. I think BYU-Idaho plays an important part of Rexburg. But it's not what makes Rexburg. It's the citizens what makes Rexburg. And I think that the growth that they're bringing, the challenges are also what's making Rexburg unique, and which we can draw upon the expertise of those around us, the city leaders, the community, to help make it a better place. I think the apartments, the on-street parking, the parking fiasco sometimes you might say, I think it's one of those things that is going to take work, but it's also unique in that everything that happens with the city, BYU, or the Rexburg School District, you touch one, it affects everything else. And so they've all got to be in sync together. It's a web that it vibrates, what happens to one, it vibrates to the other and affects. So I think BYU is an integral part, and I think they're one of those things we're welcoming, and as it grows, we're just going to have to continue to make it work for us.
Sally.
Well, again, thank you for that question. The city's relationship with BYU-Idaho now is really great, and by having such a good relationship with them, we are able to work on these problems such as parking and the growth that's happened. I often kind of like to say, 5 years ago, we never thought that Rexburg would ever have 5-story buildings and underground parking. So never say never, because it has happened. So this has become a part of our community. The city is instrumental in trying to help with the parking problems, and have done so in a pretty good manner. It's getting better all the time. Also, again, through proper zoning and proper ordinances and placing things in places where they should be, things are really flowing pretty smoothly. We're happy to have the growth of the college. It makes us a vibrant community. It makes us a young community. Like Jordan says, our biggest assets are, of course, our residents, but I feel like that the city and BYU-Idaho work very well together in addressing these problems.
Thank you. Tisha.
Recently, I had the opportunity to attend the community leaders meeting held at Brigham Young University, Idaho, and President Egbert shared the anticipated growth of BYU-Idaho. And Rexburg really is growing, and it's continuing to grow. And the thing that I see that we have a problem with is maintaining our streets and increasing our infrastructure. I think our citizens' main two concerns with the growth of BYU-Idaho is not the wonderful students that come there. It's the integrity and the safety of our streets, number one, and the safety and integrity of our neighborhoods, number two. And I think priority needs to be given to those two concerns. I believe that we need to be better stewards over our taxpayers' money in order to be able to address those concerns. I'm grateful for BYU-Idaho. My husband works at the university, and our family benefits from being here. We love this community, and we want the opportunity to be given to future generations. And I feel that as long as we keep that open line of communication with BYU-Idaho, that we will be able to maintain the increased and the anticipated growth of BYU-Idaho. But more importantly, I feel like BYU-Idaho students need to be given the opportunity to help us problem solve the issues that come with growth. Thank you.
Thank you. William.
That's a good question. I think I take a little bit different view on it than a lot of people do. I think it's very concerning that we need to apply. It's not us against them. The students that come to school here have the same wants, the same desires, the same need for medical attention that the city members, we'll say the full-time members of the city or the members of the community have. I think that if we make it doable for the city, it will in turn be a symbiotic relationship with the students and vice versa. This BYUI is the industry in Rexburg. If BYUI closed, Rexburg would have a big struggle. I think that we do have a problem with roads. I drive a lot of people's roads lately, as everybody else has campaigning, and other issues in the city that need to be addressed, but I think that that's going to have to be addressed by business development in the community. Rexburg needs to attract more industry in the community and not have all its eggs in one basket, if you'll be with BYUI. BYUI has the support of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It controls its destiny. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince.
You know, I grew up in Rexburg, what I call Central Rexburg. I also graduated from BYU-Idaho. I think that perspective will give me an opportunity to work closely with both the community and with the school. It's actually been a question that I've been asked quite often as I've knocked doors and talked with community members. And I guess I'm not in the know to know that there's a problem. That I would just assume that Rexburg would work with BYU-Idaho and vice versa. I don't think we necessarily need to scratch each other's backs to do each other favors. But in a community that'll benefit both the community and the school and the residents, both long-term, short-term, those that work at the school, those that don't. I think it's a relationship that we need to make sure we are not only counseling with each other, but we are figuring out the issues that'll come up in the future and planning for those issues together, not separate parties coming together at the end, but throughout that entire process of figuring out a problem. I think we need to communicate with one another, counsel with one another, figure out what long-term, short-term community members want, and what will also help the college grow as well as the school. Again, as been said, BYU-Idaho plays an intricate part, but we are still citizens of Rexburg, and we all love the community.
Thank you. And Justin?
Thank you. I agree with a lot of things that have been said here. BYU-Idaho is a major part of Rexburg. We, like they said, we love it. I actually work at BYU-Idaho, and a great employer. But I do think there are some issues. I think there are issues with citizens and students. I don't think there's a problem with city leadership and the university leadership. I think that they are working together, and they have in the past, and I think that needs to continue, like has been mentioned. And I think as they do, we can get more industry in Rexburg. We can get those things that need to come into town to make it so that we can be a family community. I do think, however, that as citizens and as students, I think we need to appreciate more what each other bring, and I think as we work together as leaders, that'll come, that we can educate them and help them to understand that we do need each other, and there can be some synergy and great things can happen.
Third question. A topic of contention is booting. Do you support the business of booting in Rexburg? Do you feel it needs to be regulated? And if so, how? Or would you vote to ban it altogether? Justin.
Okay, that's a great question, and I hear a lot about that. In fact, I have a daughter who that happened to not too long ago. I think it's a necessary thing. Booting, it gets people's attention. That sometimes a ticket on the window doesn't get that attention. So I think it's important, but I also think there needs to be ordinances and followed, and also there needs to be some restrictions with that. It can't just be a free for all. It needs to be controlled, and it needs to be done legally, obviously, and with integrity and respect. But I do think it's something that can help get the attention of some of these younger people or could be older people. But it is something that is necessary to help because parking is, I mean it's a major issue in Rexburg right now. So it's important that we park where we're supposed to.
Thank you. Vince.
I think it's important to know and state the fact that the reason booting is happening in Rexburg is because there's a lack of parking. Most of it happens in apartment complexes where there's a shortage of parking to begin with. And so when a student that doesn't live in that facility comes and parks, they are often booted if they're not in visitor parking or if they're there too long. Now there's a difference in my mind between booting and prey booting, meaning they are literally coming after you the second you park, and they will not let you go until you pay. Of course, there's even a court case being done as of today on this very subject in which there's prey booting. Again, I think it's important that we regulate parking because there is a shortage of parking. I think there's a difference, again, between preying on those that are vulnerable because there is no other place to park, and those that are intentionally doing it because they don't think they'll get caught. We need to make sure that we have the ordinances in place, that there's enough parking for those that live there, first of all, and that a few people can visit at a time. And if not, the signs need to be posted, they need to be educated. People that are just ignorant of it, then they will need to pay the price that comes with that.
William.
I don't have a problem with booting. I think the city council and the city members have done an excellent job in trying to encourage growth around the school so students don't need to drive their cars anywhere. It is a city ordinance and city law, and I have to abide by those rules. I would expect everybody else should have to be the same. Thank you.
Tisha.
I recently spoke with a student who experienced predatory booting. She went to an apartment building with 6 open visitor spots and was just picking up her sister and called in, and she needed to use the restroom. And so she pulled in, ran in, was gone less than 5 minutes, and came out, and there was a boot. It said right on the thing that it was visitor parking, and they had a 2-hour limit. And so there is a problem with predatory booting. The interesting thing, though, this is not a city issue, though it's becoming a city issue. The city is getting complaints from people who have had the experience of predatory booting. The booting happens at the apartment buildings. And so there is a problem. And like Vince said, the problem is mostly with the lack of parking. However, there are instances where there has been problems with the booting, and yet there hasn't been able to have some sort of resolution. I do believe that booting and ticketing is something that as a city that we do in order to keep our streets nice and not have it overcrowded with vehicles. So I do believe that that is appropriate. However, I do not believe that we should have predatory booting. Sorry.
Thank you. Sally.
Thank you. Right now there is a parking study underway that'll be finished in the spring to address visitor parking a little bit more and the regulations on that. This has come to the City Council several times in the last 4 years, and we really almost believe that it's not a city problem. It's between the apartment owners and the booters, actually. But when it becomes a problem for the city is when the police have to get involved. And so that makes it a city problem. So there's going to be some things come about in the future discussing that. But I do believe also that there is some personal responsibility with the students and where they park. Just like Justin's daughter, if you do park in the wrong place for the wrong amount of time, then yes, you learn your lesson by getting booted, and then you don't do it again. And some people do it over and over again, and they're the ones that get in trouble. But again, most of the responsibility, I believe, should be between the apartment owners and the company that they hire to do the booting. There are some instances where we've also seen predatory booting, and I agree with you, Tisha, that needs to be looked at. But I think that the students need to learn also to follow the rules of their apartment complex, and so that the police don't have to become involved.
Thank you. And Jordan.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I think that we need to hold apartment owners accountable for having appropriate parking and enough parking for their tenants. But I also feel like it is a property owner's right to police their apartment and their property how they see fit. And if that means having the tow companies come and boot and ticket, then I don't think it's a governmental responsibility. Although, like Sally said, it has come to the council because the police do get involved. But I think it's gotten better. But I also think the educating of kids, as the students, as they come and where they can and can't park, and making them responsible for their actions. But I do think, I don't think the city council has any business in dictating how a person operates on their property for their parking.
That was the final question. Now we will give everyone 60 seconds in order to give a closing statement. Jordan, we'll again begin with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to have this debate. I'm up for re-election again. I've enjoyed the last 4 years. I come before you as somebody that doesn't have a political agenda or a personal agenda for rerunning for city council, but I come before you as an individual who has a personal investment in Rexburg. It's where I live, it's where I work, and it's where I cultivate my family roots on a daily basis. It's the greatest place in the world to live. So I hope for vote for me on November 3rd will be a vote for hard work, ethical dealings, and honesty. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Sally.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for having us here tonight. I love Rexburg. I was born and raised here, as were my parents and grandparents. So I do also have a vested investment in Rexburg. I really do care about the community. I've enjoyed my service on the council for the last 4 years and feel it an honor to serve the residents of Rexburg. I think we have, again, such a great community, and as the growth is a gift to us. communities would give anything to have the growth problems that we have. And so I would like to continue to serve another 4-year term so that we can continue what we're doing. I think we're handling growth smartly, and I think we're aware of what's happening and what needs to happen. And so I too would hope to be able to serve another term and be able to serve Rexburg for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Tisha.
Our family has lived here now for 16 years, and we love the Rexburg community. I have a passion for serving, and I love this, the ability to serve and to promote special projects that happen here in Rexburg. I have had several people ask me to run for city council, and it was never something in my aspirations to do. I come before you with literally no political or personal agenda, but truly to work together with the citizens and to try and promote Rexburg to not only grow, but to grow responsibly and with aesthetics in mind. I believe that we can work together. We can bridge city and citizen and value each other's differences and what we each have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Tisha. William.
I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here and be part of this great community of Rexburg. I am a new guy, as most people around this table is age-wise to the town. I've only been there for 6 years. I've always felt a civic duty to be involved in my community. However, if one of the officers in the city of Rexburg wouldn't have come by my house and asked me to run, I'd probably be at home sitting and looking at this. I am similar to everybody else. I think everybody in this room is well qualified to sit in the city council. I think we have a good city council. I think they vote with their heart. I think that they act in a manner that is of highest moral abilities. I just think we need to do something to enhance the growth of the city economically. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Vince.
Mark, thank you, and thank you to EastIdahoNews.com for allowing us to come. I appreciate the opportunity to voice my opinion and why I'm running for city council. Again, as a resident of Rexburg, lifelong resident, graduate of Madison High and BYU-Idaho, I have an invested interest. My family is fairly young, and I think Rexburg is on a teeter-totter in which a lot of residential growth has come. I believe in the next few years, especially with Walmart in that area developing, we will have a lot of commercial growth. I think it's important to have many different opinions on a city council, and that's why I'm offering mine. I haven't been on necessarily any frontage boards or committees in the area, but I have been concerned and involved in getting to know areas and people. And I want to offer my best interest and my best ability to the city of Rexburg.
Thank you, Vince. And Justin.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here tonight. This has been great. I too feel like everyone at this table is very qualified to be on the city council. I feel like what I can bring is I can listen to citizens of the community, listen to those who have an interest in the community. I have an interest. And I also feel like I can help make those decisions like have been talked about. And I feel like that Rexburg is in a position where it can grow and thrive, or it can grow and be chaos. And I think we're on the right path right now, and I would just want to help keep it going that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. We'd like to thank each of the candidates for being here and want to wish you a lot of luck. Want to thank EastIdahoNews.com for sponsoring the debate, and I want to remind people, get out, be a part of the system, and vote. Thank you very much.